Hi, welcome back to Intro to Christianity. Today we want to talk about a definition of religion in general. So we're studying Christianity from an academic perspective, and it's in the context of religious studies. We should ask, what is religion and who is religious? So we have this handout, History of Religion. We're going to use this to talk about a definition. I would encourage you to take notes. This looks like a good exam question. I might ask, what is the definition of religion? And what are the 5 implications of the definition? Ooh. But before we get going, I'd like you to jot down what your definition of religion is. What do you think it is? What's your preconceived notion about religion? And let's compare notes afterwards. Okay, here's a definition of religion. And you don't have to agree with it. You can say, no, I disagree. But I do want you to think critically. And I have tested this out in a place or two. So let's think about it. Religion is the beliefs or set of beliefs we use to give meaning to our experience. Pause. So notice it has to do with beliefs. And we already talked about that in the previous recording. Beliefs are where we affirm something to be true. We're saying, yes, that is true. It's like I believe, I affirm. And religion is beliefs or a set of beliefs, a system of belief, like a world and life view, which we talked about last time. And we use this to give meaning to our experience. So if you want to add to that illustration I gave last time about the house, what we want to add is a window in the house. And you live in that house and you're looking out the window and experiences are coming to you through the window. So you live in the house and you have to interpret all of your experiences in light of that house, in light of your views about what is my source of authority, what is real, what is ultimate reality like, what is the good life. So we are faced with a lot of experiences every single day. Our sensations of the world, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, our relationships with other people, things that happen to us, bad things, good things, and even that is an interpretation, what we consider bad and good. So we have all kinds of experiences, and they don't make sense unless we give them meaning. So religion is how we give meaning to life. Okay, now think about this. There's going to be implications. You may disagree. In fact, there are religious studies scholars who disagree. They want to say, no, maybe religion's not about beliefs primarily. Maybe it's more about, I don't know, sociology. Remember we talked about the sociologists? Maybe it's about the group. Or maybe it's about an encounter with God, like an experience. But even that, something we consider an encounter with God, needs to be interpreted. And usually we interpret it in light of our belief that there is a God. So I'm willing to be challenged on the definition. Drop me a line. But we'll see what the implications of the definition are. So one of the things is that religion cannot be defined as a belief in a higher power. Some people want to say religion is like belief in God or a higher power. But there are religions that we study that don't have that, such as Buddhism. They don't have a higher power. And religion can't be defined as belief in scripture or a set of practices because, again, there are religions without scriptures and without practices. Zen Buddhism, the practice is that there are no practices. So many religions do not have these features. And I want to make a suggestion that some belief systems have it in their interest to define religion in this way so that they don't have to be included as a category for analysis. I'll let you use your imagination. What group would say, we're not a religion? That's what I'm talking about. They would say, we're not a religion because we don't have a higher power. All right, I'll just say it. Atheism. Is atheism a religion? We can see. Is it a belief or a set of beliefs used to give meaning to people's experience? Yes. So atheism or materialism or naturalism, can be interpreted as a religion and can be studied as a religion, and there are whole classes on secular religions, material monism, naturalism. All right, so what are the implications? If we define religion in this way, then the following is implied. 5 implications. The first one is that all people are religious, since all people give meaning to their experience. So maybe you were thinking, I'm not a religious person. Well, think about it. Is it true that you have to give meaning to your experience? Maybe you just don't know what your religion is yet. So both theism, belief in God the Creator, and atheism, no God the Creator, are formally paired beliefs which are used in the same way to interpret experience. So oftentimes atheists will say, I'm not religious, everybody else is religious. But we're doing the same thing as an atheist and as a theist. We're giving meaning to our experience in light of our assumptions. So if you start your house with saying, perhaps my authority is my senses, science, and my foundation is there is no God, there's just nature, and nature is forever, nature is eternal, then you live your life that way. You set out the good life. Maybe the good life is enjoy life, it's short, when you're dead, it's over, and that's that. No afterlife. But notice it's a system of belief, and it's used in the same way. And we'll find out in the history of religion, particularly in the West, these two, theism and atheism, or naturalism, have been playing off of each other in a way that's unresolved right now. And it gets played out in the university. The very fact that we study religion in this way is part of that story. Many religious studies scholars in the secular university are atheists or materialists, and they study religion from that perspective. There is no God, then how do we make sense of this religion? So that's an experience you have to make sense of too. If you're a material monist or a naturalist or an atheist, how do you make sense of religious people? Okay, so that's all to say. All persons are religious since all persons give meaning to their experience. Implication number 1. I hope you're taking notes. Implication number 2. Religion is fundamentally cognitive. Cognitive has to do with beliefs, cognition. So it has to do with beliefs, and beliefs are either true or false. This is going to be the uncomfortable part. Not all religions can be equally meaningful and equally true. If there are meaningless assumptions, then the religion can't be true. I'm not going to go over it here, but take a philosophy of religion class and you can analyze them all. Religion is not fundamentally mystical or experiential because experiences have to be interpreted in light of our basic beliefs. And it's not a set of social rules. So just because there are social rules doesn't mean it's a religion. Social rules only make sense within a context of belief. We believe these social rules are important because of previous assumptions. Okay, that was the second implication of the definition of religion. The third implication is no experience is meaningful without interpretation. So our experiences can't go uninterpreted, otherwise it's just meaningless. I like to think of it this way. Let's pretend you're on a car ride. I live in Phoenix. I'm driving to LA. And let's say I'm the passenger in the car, someone's driving, and they're going 80 miles an hour. I'm staring out the window daydreaming, and I'm not particularly focused on the landscape. What's going by me is going uninterpreted. And life can be like that. We could live life just going and not really thinking about it. And when we're not thinking about it, we're not giving things meaning. And so no experience is meaningful without interpretation. We have to give interpretation for things to mean something. Okay? One's basic belief cannot arise from experience. Okay, so we have to ask the question, where'd you get your basic belief? And usually we're born into a family, and that family raises us with a belief or set of beliefs, or a lack of belief, maybe. I know it's popular now for parents to raise children saying, we don't really believe anything in particular. Perhaps they give you the option to choose something later. But even there's a fallback position. There's an assumption usually of unbelief. So belief or unbelief, and belief in what? Unbelief is a position as well, and it's a position by which we make sense of life and give meaning to our experience. All right, so experience has meaning when it's interpreted in light of one's basic belief using reason. So our basic belief, again, has to do with how do we know, and what is real, what is ultimate reality, and what is the good life. And reason is the tool that we use to interpret experience. So we are rational beings. Reason is used as a test for meaning, and meaning is more basic than truth. We have to know what it means before we can know whether it's true. And we also have to give our experiences meaning by means of reason. So you'll see me write, I guess I won't write on the board, I'll just do it in the air. Basic belief is prior to experience. So think of the foundation of the house is prior to the house itself. You can't build a house without a foundation. So basic belief, house. Basic belief, experience. Okay, experience is secondary to our basic belief. So we can say we get our basic belief by being born into it or by being reborn. So religions often talk about rebirth, and particularly Christianity talks about being born again. And this is a spiritual awakening, a spiritual rebirth. It is something that is a radical change that might cause a conversion in someone's life. So we can say our basic belief can change through conversion, but ordinarily we're born into a basic belief. All right, I'll let you think about that. Sometimes people change their basic belief or convert when they perceive that their belief system is no longer providing the meaning that they need. They ask questions, their questions aren't answered satisfactorily, they can't make sense of it, and so they look for meaning somewhere else. All right, the fourth implication is this. As truth cannot be separated from meaning, so faith cannot be separated from reason. This is where we get to talk about the relationship between faith and reason. What is faith? Probably you've heard the definition of faith. You know what? I'd really like you to pause this and write down your definition of faith. You've probably heard that faith is belief without proof, or belief without understanding, or blind belief, right? That's something we can call fideism, faithism. It's blind belief. It also has a history. It also has a history in Christianity, which we'll talk about as we go along. Fideism is not the same as faith, which is defined in the scriptures. In the book of Hebrews 11, it says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. So think about that. Faith is the substance. The word for substance is hypostasis, which is like the underlying support. So faith is the underlying support for things hoped for. It is the evidence of things unseen. So faith has support. Faith is what holds it up. And it's for things you hope for. And things you hope for are things you don't have yet. And faith has evidence for things unseen. So let's talk about both sides of those. I used to hope that I would graduate. I said I used to because I have graduated since I had that hope. But I used to hope that I would graduate. Graduate school is really a long time and a lot of work, and sometimes there were trials, and sometimes your faith gets tested. Has this ever happened to you? Your faith gets tested? Well, your faith gets tested when your understanding is tested. Faith is connected to understanding. So when we don't understand, that's when our faith is shaken. We'll talk about this when we look at the life of Abraham and his faith, because he's called the father of the faithful. So I used to hope I would graduate, and I had a lot of roadblocks that came in the way, that tested me in my faith. Now, what is it? It's a belief that I will one day accomplish this goal. And I had reasons for believing that. And the reasons were, I had finished my bachelor's degree, 2 of them. I had finished my master's degree. I could do the work. I was doing the work. I was getting A's. So I had good reasons for this hope. And then one day it happened, right? So we have other hopes in life. And in Christianity, there's hope. And we'll talk about what is the hope in Christianity. But it's definitely not something you see right now. It's a future thing. And the definition of faith also said it's the evidence for things unseen. So things unseen are contrasted with things that are seen, things by sight. So if we assume that all of our knowledge is by sight or by our senses, then this will seem absurd to us. We'll be like, yeah, you can't see God, you can't see your soul, you can't see the afterlife. So yeah, you just have to blindly believe in those things. But what if we don't define how we know through the senses? What if we know through things like reason and argument? Then we can say, yeah, we don't have to just blindly believe. We can say, I have good reasons. I have an argument for the existence of God. I have an argument for the existence of the soul. I have an argument for the continuity of the soul. This is what the philosophy of religion, particularly in Christianity, has been concerned with, giving arguments for the things that you can't see, that we could know them through reason. So notice I've been mentioning reason in both of these. So go back to the handout. As truth cannot be separated from meaning, so faith cannot be separated from reason. It is by reason that meaning is grasped. Reason is the test for meaning. So as we have meaning is more basic than truth, we have reason is more basic than meaning. So we have reason, meaning, truth. And we also have this. Reason is more basic than faith. And if you think about this, reason is the tool that humans have for grasping meaning. Faith is the tool that humans have for grasping truth. And not all truth is scientific truth. Some truth is philosophical, and we use reason to understand it. We use reason to understand scientific truth too, let's be honest. Okay, all that to say, as truth cannot be separated from meaning, so faith cannot be separated from reason. So don't let people say, you have your reason, I have my faith. Or, as one philosopher said, when faith and reason clash, let reason go to smash. Don't let them say that, because faith can't be had without reason. Otherwise, it's just called fideism, and it's, let's call it fake faith. And it's probably what gives Christianity a bad rap in the history of Christianity, particularly in the modern world. We'll talk about that history. Okay, the last implication of the definition of religion is here. No one is fully conscious of or consistent in their basic beliefs. So think about this. No one's fully aware of their basic beliefs, and no one's fully consistent in living their basic beliefs, or even holding them. And this is also sometimes a critique of religion, particularly of Christianity, that people are hypocrites, right? Religious people are hypocrites. Well, everybody is, because no one can be fully aware and nobody can live their views fully consistently. Not in this life. So this is true of all people, not just religious people. Well, if all people are religious, then it's true of all religious people. All people have a mixture of these two basic beliefs. Everything is eternal, or only some things are eternal, or belief and unbelief in their life with one more at one's core. So maybe a person has belief at their core, then they also have peripheral unbelief, and belief and unbelief are in competition in that person's life. And as we become more conscious of our commitments, the other influences will be less and less of a factor. So let's say a person has unbelief at their core, and they're raised, let's say, in a Christian household. That Christian influence will become less and less of a factor in their decision making in their life, in their world and life view, as they become more conscious and consistent in their unbelief. Now it says history. Human history is an outworking of the conflict between belief and unbelief in each person, in each culture, and in world history. And it comes up in the way that I mentioned last time of challenge and response. Challenge to ideas and response to ideas through reason. So history is the outworking of the conflict between belief and unbelief in each person, in each culture, and in world history. And that's the story we're going to look at. So let's review what we talked about today. We talked about the definition of religion, which I want you to know forever. It's a quiz question. And the 5 implications of the definition. All persons are religious, since all give meaning to their experience. Religion is fundamentally cognitive. No experience is meaningful without interpretation. As truth cannot be separated from meaning, faith cannot be separated from reason. And lastly, no one is fully conscious of or consistent in their basic beliefs. So I would recommend you write this on a note card. One side, the question, what is the definition of religion? The other side, the answer. One side, what are the 5 implications? The other side, the answer. And study this note card maybe 5 minutes here and there. And commit it to your long-term memory as part of your education. These are things I want you to know. These are part of the core questions. And next time we'll continue. We'll talk about 2 basic beliefs, because now we want to talk about belief and unbelief. What are they? And then we're going to talk about levels of religion. I'm going to skip ahead to levels of religion. And then I think we will leave the rest of this handout and we'll start looking at the content of Christianity. All right? Talk to you soon.